What is happening? Welcome to my channel. My name is Matt Bradford. This is my love letter to Beetronics. And the intro jam got a little long, so yeah, here we are. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, I can't jump right in. Real quick, gear I'm using today to talk about Beetronics. I've got an Apocalypse Machine lap steel. This is one of my lap steel tellies. And it's great for fuzz and stuff like that. We're going to be going through this board. This is not all of my Beetronics, but obviously there are 6 Beetronics pedals. I will explain why these are the ones I chose for this particular video. But there's more, you know, in the intro jam, there was a Walk to Hell on the bass, and I have an Abella somewhere, and I have the other octave fuzz. So I have the Abella, I have the Vezzpa, I have the more vintage style one. There's an overdrive. I have some good stuff. Oh, can't have this in the shop. Get that off there. Get that off of there. Okay. Anyway, so going through those, and then into my DCC Darko's custom creations Plexi. Darko's custom. He can only get them on Instagram. I'm going into my recording booth. Satellite amps 1x12 with a ribbon and a 57 going through Lauren Audio Panther and a Cappy VP28 into Logic. There's probably a little bit of reverb from Logic just to give it a little bit of space because the booth can be a little dry. Let's jump in. Beetronics holds, we're recording? Okay, good. A very special place in my heart. The very first pedal I bought from them was the Beetronics Swarm right here. And if you haven't, just before, I'll get into the story, but like if you haven't heard this pedal, I don't even know how it's set right now. There's something about Beetronics. I know there are other companies that are as unique, but there is no one more unique than Beetronics. I think there's other guys doing some stuff. That's the only pedal that sounds like that. It's an analog fuzz with it has like an analog octave that's tracking, and you can set all the parameters. So, gotta have it on. And then it has that dive at the end, which is like, whoa, that's the coolest thing. And so when I was getting into fuzz, I started with like a Carcosa, and then I got some fuzz faces and some stuff. And I remember seeing this and going, what is that? That is wild. And so I got that pedal, and it really, this is one of the more, you know, the thing about Beetronics, and we're going to go through all of this real quick, is like I don't have a pedal from them that I didn't get and plug in and immediately get inspired. And that's why the opening jam was so long, was because it was like I was inspired right away. Oh, my mustache itches to write a riff, and I got all excited. So let me start with this. Before we start with that, because this is, the amp is set pretty clean, right? So the Wannabee is kind of a very fancy take on a blues breaker and a clon. So I have the blues breaker set up with actually a little extra gain. I used it today in a rhythm track because this was the board that was set up. But so check it out. That's the wrong pedal. So that's the Wannabee, right? Wannabee off, Wannabee on. Okay, it's adding some extra juice because when I play fuzzes, fine. But I like it to be rounded a little bit, and the Wannabee, the blue side of the Wannabee takes fuzz perfectly. be pretty scoopy. I'm talking over that thing. Fuzzes can be pretty scoopy, and so having a good overdrive pedal is a really cool way to beef it up. So I will get to the Wannabee, but the reason that I grabbed these pedals, I got the Wannabee because it is such a great it's a great overdrive to run fuzzes into, and a lot of overdrives are not. The red side is also good. I gotta change the settings a little bit, but the way that it lops off some of the low end and stuff is not what I want for this particular situation. The blue side is perfect. It acts a lot like an amp would, and so that's what we're using. We're using a Blues Breaker style overdrive from Beetronics to smooth out the fuzzes, and the fuzzes are right here. So these are my 3 fuzzes. The fuzzes I took from them today. This Swarm, I bought this, I want to say in 2021 or 2020, and it's the coolest thing. So I'm not going to do a demo. Oh my God, so much talking. I'm not going to do a demo because there's plenty of demos out there and I don't read the manual. But check it out. So when I want something that's going to be unique and it's going to just inspire something cool, the way that this thing dives... the way it does that thing really makes me build in space for that. We have a variety of ways the octave or the kind of the tracker can track. And some of them can be really nasty. And it's just the coolest freaking pedal. Nothing does what this thing does. And then you can kind of control, just real quick, this is just the fuzz tone, I think. Which is already really good. And obviously you can hear in the background a little bit the thing, but I can probably dial that out if I want to, but I don't want to. This pedal, trying to make this a normal fuzz pedal is pointless. Make this the beautiful, insane pedal that it is. Right? And I can dial up the Queen, I can dial up the drone. The Queen is the one that follows, I believe. Which is amazing, and then I can dial in how that thing responds with the flight and the sting controls. So here's flight all the way down. And then here it is. I think that tracks it the most effectively, and then here's it all the way the other way, where I think it really takes a while to get to where... Oh. I think it takes it all the way to get to where it needs to go. It's actually gating before it even gets there. That's so rad. So look, the reason that I picked this pedal, first of all, was it was my intro to Beetronics. But also because this is one of those pedals, if I bring it to a guitarist, if I bring it to a guitar store or something, every time I've brought it someplace, people who have not heard of it or who aren't familiar with it are just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever played. And I think sometimes, obviously, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to use that can be a detriment to spending that much money on a pedal. But, man, for something that makes me play so differently, it is the absolute coolest thing. So now the sting's all the way down. Right, and we can bring the drone up. The drone is yet another thing moving around. That is, I could do a demo. I don't do a lot of demos because I don't really know what I can bring to the game that people, you know, you got your RJs and your Buddy Blues and your Edge of Breakup and your whoever your demo guy is. I'm definitely not that guy. So like, I don't know what I would bring to that, but I can tell you this, that I could do a demo of this pedal because this pedal makes me excited to play and it makes me inspired. And, I would encourage you to check it out. The thing about these pedals, the thing about the Beetronics pedals is every single one of these is inspiring, including the Wannabee, which is pretty simple overall, but you know, comparatively speaking, but also has these kind of really cool little things. So we'll get there, but we're going to work our way across the board. Let's go to the Zzombee. The Zzombee is, when this one came out, you know, after the Swarm came out, or not came out, I got one and then I was playing and it was like during COVID, but then things started happening. I got a little more popular and it turns out Beetronics lived down the street, the office was down the street from where I lived. And so we developed a relationship and I went down there, I think the first time to get a Zzombee. I think that's right. But whatever it was, the Zzombee it's like this was made for me. I mean, it's a monster of a pedal. Now, it's kind of like a little more controllable Swarm with the octave just kind of tracking, right? So already super cool with that octave. You can turn it off just with a little... Uh-oh. Okay, wait, I know how to do this. So, and here it comes... There it is. So that's just the fuzz. These are complicated pedals, and some more so than others. And I'm going to talk about the CB in a second. But the thing that's cool, the thing that can be challenging with them is there's a lot of, it's like, how do I get just the fuzz sound? Well, there it is. I found it. And there's 3 fuzz settings. Right? This is like the overdrive sound. Which is actually pretty awesome. That's still going into the Wannabee, but like, that's pretty awesome. And then fuzz 1. Right, less fuzzy. It's cool. It's I don't know why you would use less fuzzy when you have this setting. It's called more fuzzy. So that's the fuzz sound in the Zzombee, and that's cool, but when you add the octave, it gets cool. I mean, this is where it's at. Now, you don't see it a lot. Some of these you don't end up... The Swarm is so distinctive. Like, when I write a riff with that, it just ends up being the thing. The Zzombee, you don't see as much on my channel as I would like, because it does feel like it was built for me, but you hear it because I use that a lot as a rhythm guitar sound. That... Right, and in the opening track you heard it. That was the Swarm was my intro. This was that intro. I have to go back and learn the riff again. I've already forgotten the riff. But whatever. This was the intro. So good. So that was the intro riff part, and then when the doubled guitars came in on the side, oh, there's the riff. Right. And it just, with that octave, it makes it so big and fat, but it's also not in the way. And then, right. And then when I had it set up like this, so that when we went to the quieter part, I could add that little just noise section in the background where all you have is the octave, and it could be... Which again, for recording, for layers, this stuff is amazing. And then, we haven't even talked about the part where it has an oscillator on it. So that's a tremolo. And it has a tap tempo. Not the best design for a pedal board where you can have the momentary switches, which is so cool about the Beetronics stuff. And then you can also add an oscillator. Is that what I don't remember what I said. This has a LFO. And then also, I can make that, I can put that on my main track or on the fuzz. And then I can control it. Right, so it has that. Oh, it's not a fun sound. And then, I think probably the coolest sound for me is this this random. I gotta change my settings here. Hold on, let's try this. Okay. There we go. Okay, I knew I had a preset in there, because this is my favorite setting, where it has a random generator, but and so, I forget what Felipe told me. It's so fun sitting down with him because he's insane. Like, the way his brain works has got to be terrifying for anyone around him, because he's just like, yeah, then you do this, and then you do that, and then you do this, and then this happens. And there's something like, there's so many, because of the algorithm, there's so many patterns that it's essentially random. And you can tap tempo it. And so when you have these pedals that just, I mean, it just makes me want to play. Let's just check our batteries. Okay. You know, when I have these pedals, it just makes me want to play stuff. That is incredible. That's like the most special thing. And so let's skip the Vezzpa for a second and let's go to the CB, because the CB, this is a chorus. Let's you know, it's a great chorus just by itself. But again, it has these settings in it, and this is, I think this is probably their most complicated pedal, which can be challenging. Let's add some delay too, just while we're here. Let's add some delay. Maybe not that much. Okay. Cool. Just add a little more space, because with chorus, for me at least, I need more. I like it to be a little spacier. So that swell in the chorus, all of a sudden, so this chorus, wow. They make things complicated, but not as complicated as I can make them after them. So check this out. It has a bunch of presets. I think it has 16, but I really just used the first 4. And there we go. The way I have them set up, the first one's a lush chorus, right? Just a... And then each one has a secondary setting, which is I have this quick setting. So what I can do with that momentary stuff is I can really add it, it lets me accent things. Which I absolutely love. So my first 2 presets that on my CB are the, I'm doing it left-footed because right foot I'd have to go this way and it would look weird on camera, and that's not good. My first 2 are just pretty common choruses. Which I absolutely love. I can't. So those by themselves are great choruses. The momentary effects are amazing. And I remember when the video came out, I did a demo for them and it came out on Instagram, and some of the more extreme effects happened. And I'll put the comment up here. But basically it was something like, well, those extreme effects only get used in demos, and I don't agree with that. This is the stuff. These are the things where, like, I hear it on a record once in a while. I've heard the Swarm on a Tyler Bryant record, and I was like, I knew exactly what the pedal was. There's something so cool about something so unique that when you hear it, you're like, I know exactly what that is. And so when I get into some of the more extreme settings on the CB, because while I love the choruses, I'm not a big chorus guy, and when they first called me and said, hey, we have a chorus, it was just like, I don't care that much. But I went over, I was like, let's check it out, right? And I go over, and again, Tato and Felipe and all the guys over there are just some of the sweetest, nicest, raddest dudes in the industry, and those are the kind of companies I love to get to represent and show you their stuff and work with, because, like, they're just lovely, lovely people. And then they are so passionate about what they do. And Felipe is so knowledgeable about this stuff. And so when he showed me these settings, these are the ones, again, the CB doesn't make it into the front pages of a lot of my videos, but this is the kind of stuff these kind of settings are those kind of sounds. Let's get the drive. Oh, I haven't had the reverb in at all. Okay, so that super cool. There's the reverb. All right. I mean, that's just inspiring to me. That's super inspiring to me. So, the pedal cam has died. The main cam is overheating. We're gonna come back in a second, but I just gotta say, like, those kinds of sounds are the sounds that you're gonna hear them in the background of a lot of my stuff. When I hear it, I know exactly what the pedal is I used. A lot of times I don't. These are such cool, unique, incredible pedals. This is going to be such a long video. I'm going to cool down the cameras, put some new batteries in, and then we're going to do the other three, oh my god, the other three pedals. And we are back. Oh, stop that. And we're back. I mean, just for you, that took no time. For me, it took a little time. The other thing, I almost didn't show you this on the CB, my favorite setting is my fourth one. You know, a chorus is a time modulated thing, so I was able to get like a weird dirty delay. Yeah, this is just the CB, and it's like this. This is one of my favorite sounds of all time. So you'll be hearing that soon. That was something that when I started coming up with the track for today, I wanted to get that sound in there, and you have it in there, but to get the fuzzes in the way I wanted and everything else, I wasn't going to be able to use that sound as the main sound. So there's definitely going to be something coming with that. Anyway, but it's, I mean, what a cool sound. And I don't know of any other pedal that gives you that sound in a chorus. So it's like one of those things where you go, yeah, that's cool. So the Wannabee. The Wannabee, when this came out, we did a video, and there were people you've actually heard of, people like Rhett Scholl in it, and there was me, talking about how, like, oh yeah, we just wanted a pedal that sounded like everything else, because these other ones don't, right? The CB doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard in my entire life. The Zzombee is a totally unique animal. The, pardon me, Swarm is a totally unique animal. The Vezzpa, we're going to get to in a second. There's a reason we're going in the order we're going. But the Vezzpa is an amazing octave fuzz, but again, it has some functions that are cool, but it's like the most, it's a very modern octave fuzz, and I'll talk about why. But the Wannabee, let's turn this off for a second. We don't need to turn it off there. I know how to use a switcher. Let's do it like this. So, okay. There's nothing. Here's the Wannabee, right? Not a killer lead tone there. That's more, I have that dialed in as a rhythm tone. We talked about that already. And it has this switch that I think is a mid-range switch or something, or bass cut, something to do with like the shape of the EQ. but I'm gonna leave it the way I have it because this is how I use it. And I use it a lot of times as, you know, especially if I'm going into a cleaner amp or a clean amp and I need some grit. That's how I use that side. And then the Klon side, when I kick it on, it's just this sweet. And it has 3 settings. Right? Just the Klon. So nothing. And right now I have the 2 overdrives set up parallel. So what that means is the signal going through the Klon side is not hitting the blue side and vice versa. For me, it gives me a more open sound with that much gain. The last thing I'm looking for at that point is more gain. Okay, here's both of them. I don't know which one's first. Okay, I do know. That's blue into red. And here's red into blue. The parallel, you can hear it's less gain, but it sounds so much bigger because there's less gain. So there's less compression, and you have the 2 different tonal palettes working together as opposed to being smushed into each other. Like, you talk about like, oh, insane, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, the most usable overdrive on the planet. I don't know. I mean, it's awesome, and I should use it more. I mean, that's with all these videos, man. I just like, oh god, this is a great pedal. And the Wannabee is one of those that I just feel like there's so many overdrives on the market. So like, you know, why reach for that one? But it's because it sounds like this. There's so many sounds in it. You can keep it sweet and you can get it super aggressive. I mean, what are we doing? That's so good. Okay, good. We're recording. I didn't even check. I just kind of hope for the best. So, the Wannabee's amazing. Let's go back to our bass sort of sound. And so the reason that we did the Wannabee before the Vezzpa is, check it out. So here's the Vezzpa into a clean-ish. And again, with an octave fuzz, I like to go, if you haven't watched any of my octave fuzz videos, I have one, I got another one coming, we'll do more Beetronics stuff. The Vezzpa's on the first one. That was so many words. Tone knob down, volume knob up, neck pickup. Okay, that's the wrong one, there we go. Now, if I bring the tone knob up, it has that little extra spikiness. Tone knob down. That's awesome, but it's a little bit like bright into a totally clean or cleanish amp. If I add that the Wannabee, it just smooths it out. It smooths it out in a way. So now we have a sound, and then let's add a little delay. I mean, so okay, we're gonna get to the Bee Bee Dee because the Bee Bee Dee is a special thing as well. But that is a lead tone that can sound heavy, but it's also gonna cut. And that was the lead tone I used. I may have added, I think I added both the red side. The red side makes it a little more focused sounding and tightens everything up, which in a dense track like the opener, I needed a little more like just go down the middle of the track because everything was taking up so much space. The whole trick there is to get stuff out. And you know, I had a comment recently on a video about like why would you use this over that, etc. And the reason is, well, if that's one of my sounds, it's taking up a lot of like space down here. Like I think of that as like a low mid like whoo thing, right? So super cool, but it's like it's in a certain spot. Right. So if I need to cut through that, then that's when that cuts. Oh, and we're using the wrong thing. There we go. Now we have the drive. Okay. So that's an amazing sound. This octave fuzz tracks the octave better. You see it in my octave fuzz video, but basically, a lot of octave fuzz is the high octave has a hard time tracking the note, and so you don't always get the octave pure, and it can be really magical too. But this one, if you just want a pure straight ahead octave, it's tracking. Right, it's tracking and then it's gating the fuzz, so it's a lot cleaner than a lot of other fuzzes. And I mean, it's just literally magic. It's such a good sounding fuzz. So that brings me to the Bee Bee Dee. The Bee Bee Dee is, I'm assuming, a bucket brigade delay. I assume. Because Bee Bee Dee. But I haven't read the manual, and with a pedal like this, you do need to. But I will eventually, maybe. Anyway, point is this. Let's start. Okay, right away. It's just a really good sounding delay. And there's a bunch of settings, right, that give it different. right? It has that like weird fluttery thing. This one. But what's really cool about these analog delays is that they kind of compress themselves, right? When you hit them with a lot of signal, they get out of the way, and then as the signal dies away, they kind of come back into the fray. So if I'm doing something that has that... First of all, the darkness of the delays and the analogness of all of this, my assumption is that it's a totally analog signal with a digital control path. So, because it feels so good and it doesn't really change anything. Like, it's really nice. And then I can change, I mean, there's just the tone, which is really nice. There's a tone control and a mix control. And mix can go full wet. So you can use it for recording as like an after effect, etc., which is super, super cool. But also, okay, that guy's getting hot again. This guy's getting hot. We're gonna see what happens. Also, just your big knobs, delay time, mix, tone. Awesome. We have a depth knob. You can get crazy. Right, and you can make it oscillate. I mean, that's the other thing. You can just hold this down and it gets like your big repeat thing. A lot of pedals do that too. But, so here's, right, the depth of this sort of oscillation. That depth knob, I think, is more here. It's everywhere. Of course it is. The pedal camera just died again. So instead of going through all of the BBD features, which, to be honest, there's going to be a million demos out there of people doing it better than me. I'm just going to go back to a sound that I find incredibly moving. It reminds me a lot of the delays in a that Roland Space Echo. You know, you set the repeats fast, the delay time fast, and then the repeats long, and you keep it almost like a thing at the behind you, and it's like, God, it's just. That is such a solid delay. And you can start adding the modulation and adding the darkness and adding the stuff. And it's just like, oh yeah, Beetronics did it again. The same thing they did with the chorus. The same thing they did with the overdrive. Like, here's these things that like, I'm like, I know exactly what this is. And it's like, how is it doing these things? How is it so musical and at the same time so crazy? And so I would leave you with this. That, gotta get my sound for the end. This is the CB and the BBD. I'm gonna leave you with this. The Beetronics, these pedals are some of the most inspiring, unique sounds I have ever heard. And the people that make them are just awesome. They're awesome people. They're awesome to deal with. They're loving and kind and so passionate about what they're doing. and I don't have enough good things to say about them as people who deal with customers, and I don't have anything as many good things. I mean, it's just the sonic stuff they're doing is outside the scope of most of the things that I see. It is incredibly inspiring. It inspires me. And while you don't see these pedals sort of front and center in a lot of my videos, if you start listening to the background stuff, they're there all the time. Thank you for hanging. It was a longer video than I expected. I hope you dig it. I have a Patreon if you want to support me, and there's stuff up there that we do. The opening video, the opening jam got released on there way before this video came out, and stuff like that, and as well as all my backing tracks, all that stuff. I try to make, it's $5 a month. I try to make it as valuable as possible, and please support Beetronics. You know, they didn't ask me to do this. This is purely like, let's do it because I love these pedals, and man, I can't tell you what it means that you spend time with me. I appreciate you.